Let's take a look at other news making headlines now at this hour. We've seen the Zimbabwean Embassy holding its National Day reception in celebration of its 43rd Independence Day anniversary. This takes place ahead of the expiry of the Zimbabwean Exemption Permit on the 30th of June this year. SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga standing by with Zimbabwe's ambassador to South Africa, David Hamadziripi, for more. Canny, good afternoon. What's happening on your end as the day progresses?
Well, good afternoon to you, Liesl, and the viewers at home. I'm here at the home of Ambassador to South Africa for Zimbabwe, Mr. David Hamadziripi. We've just concluded a colorful celebration into the 43rd anniversary of the Independence Day. And of course, there are still quite a number of challenges for Zimbabwean nationals living in South Africa, with the final extension of the ZEP coming to an end on the 30th of June 2023. That will leave at least almost 180,000 ZEP holders that have built a life for themselves here in South Africa with no option but to return back to Zimbabwe or to live in this country undocumented. Of course, when the ambassador held a briefing on the 3rd of February, it seemed that the Zimbabwean government was accepting of the South African government's decision to end the ZEP, also illustrating to us that there was an exercise that would be mapped for ZEP holders to return back to their country. I'm now joined by the ambassador now to elaborate further on the work done since we last developments regarding this very contentious issue, which touches on migration across the SADC as well as the continent as a whole. Congratulations on your 43rd Independence Day celebrations. Thank you for joining us. You're live on SA Today, Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much. And first to say, we really appreciate your presence joining us on this celebratory occasion. Indeed, since we last met, we have had some developments. As from the 13th of March to the 31st of March, we have had a team that has gone throughout the 9 provinces of this country, inviting Zimbabwe exemption permit holders to come and register, as we say, to register their interest in being assisted or facilitated to return home. That is for those who have decided to go back home. Because as we always say, the decision to migrate is a voluntary decision. Ours is to assist in this particular case. So unfortunately, I must confess, I must say that in our exercise, the response has not been to our expectations. But nevertheless, to Zimbabwe, we had other team members from the consulate and from the embassy, but the team that has returned to Zimbabwe is preparing a report for the government to then put in place concrete measures to assist and facilitate those who wish to return.
How many have you seen that have garnered an interest to return back home? And we're specifically talking about ZEP holders here, not undocumented migrants. Quickly, since that announcement where you've said that you will take of almost 180,000 should they wish to return back to Zimbabwe, how many numbers have you received? Have any buses returned to Zimbabwe since that date?
The numbers, I must confess, are very low, and I would not even share with you at this point in time. The general picture that we have is among the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders, there seems to be a wait-and-see attitude at this point in time. As you are aware, we heard last week, and some of the permit holders are awaiting the decision of the court to see whether, in fact, they may have an extension to their stay, or they may then have to take decisions as to whether they want to return to Zimbabwe, go to another country, or stay here.
As it is such an important issue here in the country right now, Ambassador, take us into confidence. How many have you been able to facilitate their return, their voluntary return back to Zimbabwe? Take us into confidence as the ambassador to Zimbabweans here in South Africa.
In terms of facilitation, at this point in time, we don't have any that we have been able to facilitate because they have come to us to say we need that facilitation. At this point in time, they've indicated they want the facilitation. Most of them want the facilitation to return either at the end of May or in the course of June. So presently, there has been no facilitation because there has been no such request. But we are aware of families, individuals who have indicated they would like assistance to return next month and in the course of June.
Therefore, one can draw the conclusion that out of 180,000, zero have not made any formal requests to the embassy, meaning that some of these holders have ambitions to stay in the country. They've decided that they've built lives here and would like to continue with what they've started here in South Africa. Is that correct?
I am informed that quite a number have applied to the Minister of Home Affairs for waivers in order to be able to apply for other permits. And the last time we had a meeting with the minister, he indicated to us that upwards of 20,000 such waiver applications had passed by his desk. This was sometime in February when we met, so I should assume since then you would have a lot more people who would have applied. In our case, as I indicated, the government is right now in the process of actually drafting and finalizing a legal instrument which will spell out some of the waivers that we will be extending to ZEP holders who decide to return home. These are particularly to do with customs regulations. There are individuals who would wish to take vehicles back to Zimbabwe, household goods, equipment, and we will be ready to assist them.
All right, Ambassador, we'll continue with this conversation, but unfortunately we have run out of time on SA Today. That was the Ambassador confirming that as we speak today, Liesl, zero out of those approximately 180,000 ZEP holders have come to the embassy to request assistance to facilitate their return back to Zimbabwe. This comes as that ZEP, the last extension for that ZEP comes to an end on the 30th of June 2023. Of course, we'll continue to monitor this matter of national importance as it continues to unfold in the country. Over to you in studio.
Canny, thank you very much. The implications there are obviously affecting the region at large and the continent. Thank you for joining us here and for that update. Again, the Zimbabwean Embassy holding its National Day in celebration of its 43rd Independence Day.